Hello Pisces, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we're going to look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story, so we're going to look at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation, if there is anything, and to leave what does not. On that note, the whole reading can be reversed, especially if you're a cross watcher. So just, again, take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Pisces, we're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards, and then we're going to dive deeper into the reading with tarot as we progress. So let's start. Pisces, overall energy toward the person they are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. There are other priorities, destined soul ties, and ignoring the pain. Okay. In this connection, I feel like you often feel very under prioritized in this person's life. And I feel like that has taken a toll on you. But I also feel with this ignoring the pain card that there's kind of this energy of brushing it off a little bit. Now, of course, it's good to brush, some things off here and there. We don't want to take everything personally or react to everything. But I do feel like there's some sort of consistent theme that keeps showing up in this connection that you are in some way pushing to the side, almost like justifying it, or basically, maybe even telling yourself, like, I'll just take what I can get, or maybe I'm asking for too much or something of that nature. And I feel like it's important to know that you're not asking for too much. For when we're asking to be prioritized and valued and loved well and shown up for, like, you're never asking for too much. But if you're dealing with someone that doesn't want to do those things, or, struggles with the capability to do those things, they might in some way, not always intentionally, but make you feel like your needs are a burden, or your desires and the connection are a burden. Now, with this destined soul ties card, this energy always to me represents some sort of deeper lesson associated with the connection. Like, there's something here that, like, there's a reason that this person was put into your life. There's something that you're needing to learn, some way that you're needing to heal, or just something. There's something there, which always kind of to me gives, kind of sets the stage for really starting to understand the deeper purpose of the connection that you're dealing with. But let's see what this person's energy is. This is this person's energy toward Pisces. Commitment, unlocked potential, overstep boundaries. This person struggles with commitment for some reason. I'm not quite sure what that reason is yet. I feel like they both have a lot of potential that you see in this connection, and I feel like they also see the potential of this connection too. So I don't feel like this is like an unrequited love, like, kind of thing. Like, I do feel like this person has feelings for you. I feel like they desire what this connection could be, but yet I feel like they're constantly kind of pushing your boundaries a little bit. And not in the sense of like doing it on purpose necessarily, but almost like, I don't know, it feels like they have this certain expectation in mind when it comes to their connections. And I feel like you challenge that expectation. Maybe you desire more, or like to them it's like, oh, I just want to take, but I don't want to reciprocate, like things of that nature. Like, I want, Pisces to do all this work, and I want Pisces to always be there for me, but I'm not always going to be there for Pisces when Pisces needs me. It's like this expectation feels a little bit one-sided, and I feel like that's what really creates a lot of the issues that do arise in the connection, because you're wanting to be prioritized more, but yet this person expects you to consistently prioritize them regardless of what they're prioritizing. And, that selfish view doesn't always come from a place of like trying to use you, or, I think sometimes we can really jump to those like aggressive misinterpretations of someone's actions. But I do feel like there's something off about this energy, or about like what it's like. They're comfortable in the role of being the taker, but healthy relationships are reciprocal. It's, it's when both people are, both showing up for the other person, obviously, yes, taking love and energy and all they deserve from somebody else, but also showing up with that exact same amount. It feels like this person is kind of in this role of being a taker. And there's not a whole lot of reciprocation, but it comes from this like fear of commitment, or I don't necessarily know. I don't know. We'll see what tarot has to say. Truth of this connection between Pisces and this person. Overstepped boundaries. See, this is what's so interesting. And this is where I feel like the problem arises. And then you don't think of me. I feel like this person has this tendency of overstepping your boundaries by not necessarily being there when you need them, or reciprocating, or prioritizing you. But then when you request more from them, it's like they then accuse you of overstepping their boundaries, of like asking for too much. And that's where like maybe this feeling that like your needs or that your desires in the connection are a burden. But they're not. They're so not to the right people. And I'm not saying this person's wrong, but I do feel like they're needing to change their perspective a little bit if this were to ever work. Because this is starting to make you feel like they don't care. And I don't feel like they don't care. I kind of feel like they're a little bit selfish in their approach in this connection. It's like they're way more focused on like their needs and their desires and how they feel and what they want. And yours kind of get placed on the back burner. And when you're like, hey, I feel like my needs and my desires aren't being taken into consideration, this person is like, how dare you, be so selfish. And you're like, but wait, but I'm prioritizing yours. And when I asked to be prioritized too, how is that selfish? So I don't know. It just kind of feels like there's some backwards thinking going on here. Now, I will say projection, appears a lot in these readings. People when they struggle to believe that they're good enough for love or good enough for other people, they'll project that onto somebody else. And any time that you are like, hey, I have an issue with how I'm being treated, or I would like a little bit more out of this, or, I desire commitment or whatever, you might trigger some of those feelings of being inadequate in them. And that might cause them to respond in a certain way. But that's also not your burden. That doesn't mean you shouldn't speak up or anything like that. It just means that, a lot of times how people respond or where people are at, I mean, not a lot of times, all the time, It has way more to do with where they're at emotionally, consciously, you know, in their healing journey than it does with you at all. But let's get an overall theme of this reading. I feel like this always kind of adds a little bit of depth here for me. Overall theme of this reading for Pisces. Fate. There's that fate again. I mean, we saw destined soul ties. We saw fate. And I feel like that's why it kind of, I keep going back to this feeling that you and this person were supposed to meet to help you break a pretty intense cycle. You have this forgiveness and you have this redacted card, and then there's the deja vu. So you and this person have a tendency to go around and around again. It's like always coming back to the same problems, the same issues. And I will say, I feel like you have a tendency to forgive them pretty easily. And I feel like that's where this ignoring the pain, you know, I started out the reading with kind of talking about how this person, you know, prioritizes other things and doesn't really show up in the way that you need, but you have this tendency to kind of brush it off. And I feel like a big part of that might stem from, you know, not wanting to push them away or not wanting to be a burden, you know, in some way. I will say, like, a lot of people, especially women, and you don't have to be a woman to resonate with this, but especially women in this society have been taught that our needs or our desires, or even having needs or having desires, are like makes us more of a burden. Like it makes us less valuable or appealing, and that absolutely is so false. Sure, like to certain people, if you are like, hey, you know, I require what I give, and they are not capable of meeting you where you're at, that they are going to want to make you feel like what you are asking for is a burden because they don't want to have to step up. And that says more about them than it does you, right? It says more about somebody else's unwillingness to grow or somebody else's feelings of inadequacy than it says about you. And I'm not saying that's exactly where this person is coming from, but just like in general, you know, we've really been taught that, you know, having needs or having desires or requiring certain things in our relationships like makes us a burden or undesirable in some way. And I feel like that is, it's almost like this connection is pushing you to be very unapologetic about your needs and about your desires, to the extent where you're basically willing to say, if you can't show up for those, like, that's fine, but I'm not going to continue to pour into you if I don't, you know, if I'm not able to get the same back. And I feel like that's where, you know, I talk about it all the time, but like pouring into people that pour into you, like water people that water you. You are just deserving of everything that you have to give. So on and so forth. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this, Pisces. Let's look at your side. You have ignoring the pain with their other priorities. Pisces side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. Whoa. We have this devil. The tower. Oof. Whoa, the star. 3 major arcana. That's interesting. I want more. The 6 of Pentacles in reverse, which is literally the card for lack of reciprocation, for giving more than you get. The 4 of Wands. And you have this page, it's Page of Pentacles in reverse. 7 of Wands in reverse on the bottom. Okay. So, let's break this down. I feel like you have a very clear picture of what it is that you desire in your relationships. You know what you want, and I feel like you know what you want to the extent that like that's why you are getting so frustrated at with what this person is showing up with, because it's like you're very aware that this isn't what you need or what you desire. And maybe even there are times where you speak up about it, or you're honest about it, or you're loud about it and proud about it. But that might always end in a fight or in this fear that you're gonna like lose them. That because if you speak about your needs, or if you speak up about what you desire, that you're gonna push them away in some way. And that might over time keep you from speaking up at all, because you're like, well, I might as well just stay silent, or I might as well just not mention it because it doesn't seem to matter, or I just don't want to deal with the drama. Like, I don't want to deal with a fight. I don't want to deal with them, pushing me away, or with them questioning the relationship. Like, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go through that anxiety. I don't want to. So you're like, let me just hold back. So I feel like it's interesting because there is this awareness that like how I'm getting treated is not okay, or what I'm getting from this person is not what I want. But because you love and you care about them so much, and you have such a strong desire for this connection to work, I feel like you've kind of adapted a little bit to what they give, and this is where I feel like I might make some people mad, might have talked yourself into believing that what they're giving you is enough. Almost like, well, I'll just take what I can get from them because I'd rather have something than nothing at all. And we have a tendency to do this when we over prioritize somebody else's role in our life and the love that we have for them, and under prioritize the love for ourselves, because we say, what you have to give, regardless of how little it is more important to me than not having you in my life. So I would rather take, bare minimum than lose you. And we do this a lot to try and keep somebody else happy. And I feel like in this connection, what has really happened is your focus has shifted from what do I need and what do I desire to what can I do to make sure that this person doesn't leave me, or that this person doesn't walk away, or that this person doesn't decide that I'm not worth it. And I've been there. I've dealt with a lot of people who have been there in relationships. So I am not judging you. There's never any judgment in my readings, ever. I'm walking this journey with you guys, and a lot of this is just things that I've learned and things that I'm actively learning. But what I'm getting at is, if you hold on to this idea that you have of a person or of a relationship, but yet you accept so much less than what it is that you really truly desire, but you hold on to the hope that that will eventually make somebody reciprocate, or you talk yourself into believing that what they're giving you is enough, you are officially selling yourself short and settling for less than what you deserve. And you do it because you don't want to lose them, because you love them and you care about them, right? And I will say, like, just having been in a lot of relationships and finally getting to an experience in a healthy one with my husband, none of my relationships have ever been 50-50. In the past. My relationship now with my husband is 50-50. Now, is it 50-50 all the time? No, absolutely not. There are some days where I am burnt out, exhausted, and I've got very little to give, and he picks up the slack. But then there are also times where he's, just not feeling it, or he's struggling, or he's down, and he's dealing with stuff, and I pick up the slack. So, on days he has, more to give, he's got 70, and I've only got 30, great. But then there are days where he's only got 20, so I have to step up with that 80, and it balances out because we're both there when the other person needs us. So this isn't me talking about, oh, this person is going through a hard time and they really need you right now. That's not what this is about. This is a relationship that has kind of developed into you really bearing the burden of what it takes to make it work, which is, I must sacrifice my needs, I must sacrifice my desires, I must do whatever it takes to keep this person happy, to keep them around, to keep them in my life. And I feel like that has kept you from being able to actually receive what it is that you do truly deserve. And I think that is what is needing to be addressed. Now, this could also be a new relationship where you're dealing with someone new, but you're afraid to speak up about your needs because in the past it has got you in trouble, or in the past, you've been taught that your needs are a burden, or that your desires are a burden, or that, wanting commitment pushes people away. And I will say, like, having needs and having desires and wanting commitment and wanting reciprocation, it does push people away, but it pushes the wrong people away, and it keeps the people that are, it attracts the right people in your life. And one of the things that I've really learned is that being honest about your needs and your desires and what you require in order to feel happy and safe in a relationship, anything that is lost because you're being honest about that is not a loss, but alignment with the people who will be willing and capable of being that for you. So I feel like Spirit's kind of asking you to look at things from a little bit of a different perspective, which might be hard because I do feel such a strong desire for this connection, for this person, that there are maybe some rose-colored glasses that are needing to come off a little bit, which, again, I get it. I've been there. Absolutely. All right, this person's energy toward you, Pisces, you have unlocked potentials with commitment. The World in reverse. 7 of Wands. Oh, this is interesting. So this person is in a cycle in their own world, in their own life. This is a very stubborn energy. Somebody who does not like to see the error in their ways. And I feel like that... Well, let's see, because then you have, okay, the Page of Wands. Very self-critical. I feel like this is somebody who's very self-critical on the inside, but you might not really know it on the outside, especially if they're driven by ego and they're kind of like, doing what they can to keep that idea that their ego has of them alive. Okay, this in reverse, and then this Knight of Pentacles. So I feel one of the most important things that I see about this person is that they have a tendency with the Seven of Swords to, and I see that with the redacted card too, I feel like they really wear a mask. And maybe it's a mask that presents them as somebody who is confident, or presents them as somebody who's got it all together, or presents them as someone who is secure, but they're not very secure in themselves at all. And I feel like they struggle to see themselves through an honest lens, because I feel like this person, it's like they have a lot of, and this is common. It's kind of just that concept of having a shadow side and, ignoring it versus getting to know it and working on the healing of it. But a lot of shame that they've kind of buried, and they have now like kind of built up an idea of themselves or a construction of themselves that they then present to other people. And I feel like it's coming from this place of lacking this belief that they're lovable, that they're deserving, especially of all that you have to give. So when somebody doesn't feel lovable and deserving for what you have to provide, and they construct that ego version of themselves, whoever they think that they need to be, that kind of covers up who they really are, that the way that people keep that ego construct alive is by consistently needing validation for it. They need to consistently know this is working, you're lovable, you're deserving, blah, 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 because they don't feel that way. So what happens is they often fall into the role of the taker. They fall into the role of the taker because they constantly need that energy source. They need to know and have that validation of, you love me, you care about me, I'm good enough, I'm deserving, like all those things, because they don't feel that way themselves. So the selfish energy that they have is not necessarily coming from this place of trying to harm you. It's more coming from this place of purely trying to survive and just trying to get by. And I feel like this person has buried a lot of things that they've dealt with throughout their life that kind of keeps them from being able to do like what's best by you. Now, none of this is an excuse. Okay, and that's where I feel there needs to be a perspective shift is, yes, this person is obviously struggling. I feel like they struggle with commitment because they don't want people to get too close. Because again, they don't like who they are. They've built up this version of them, right? And that version of them needs constant validation because if that construct falls apart, they're left with who they really are. So when you start to challenge that, by saying, hey, like, I need a little bit more, or, I need you to show up for me, or I need you to be, what it is that I need, or my needs aren't being met, they immediately, I feel like, feel very attacked by that because it automatically triggers those feelings of inadequacy that they're burying. And I feel like that's what is so different from when it comes to unhealthy relationships versus healthy relationships is unhealthy relationships stem from people who need other people to love them in order for them to feel good enough, in order for them to feel good about themselves, to feel loved, to feel valued, to feel good about who they are. Healthy relationships come from two people who already know that they're lovable, deserving, all the things. And then those people get to experience the reflection of that in each other. One of the best things my therapist ever taught me is healthy relationships is actually not two halves create a whole. It's two whole people experiencing each other. And I feel like this person, I say this with a lot of empathy for them. I feel like they're very empty inside and they take what they can from you because it fills something in them. But that isn't fair to you because one of the things that is incredibly important to know is that takers don't have a limit. Because if you think about it, like, they're going to take as much as they can from whatever they're going to be able to get it from to keep that, that ego validation alive. And when you're dealing with a giver who is overgiving to someone who isn't giving back, especially not in the same way that you're giving, eventually the giver is going to run out of energy. You're not going to have enough to give anymore because your cup's going to run dry. It's going to run empty because you've poured yourself into somebody who is not pouring into you. And I feel like Spirit, this might actually be a habit for you in a lot of your relationships, like not just in particular this relationship, but this might be a cycle in a lot of relationships. And I feel like this relationship in particular really highlights this and is bringing this to the surface. So the moments where you're feeling triggered, because it's interesting because the mirror is like, okay, yes, this person feels inadequate and that's why they struggle to accept love. That's why they struggle to give it, in the way that you do. But then we're also dealing with this fear of inadequacy, I feel like on your side too, where you feel like you're inadequate and you have to overgive in order to be worthy. So you're like, maybe I need to, be more than I am and I need to pour into this person in order for them to see that I'm worthy of their time, energy, or attention, or whatever the case is. And your value is not here to be proven to anybody. It is not something that is to be negotiated. It is not something that needs to be even seen by other people in order for it to exist. And I feel like it's not that this person doesn't see your value. I feel like they absolutely do. But I feel like they are not they've got a lot of work to do on themselves before they're going to be able to be what it is that you need. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what can I do right now to make sure that I am protecting myself from getting hurt by somebody who isn't capable of being what I need? Because that's where the answer lies. It's not what can I do to get this person to be what I need, because you cannot change other people. You cannot make people be what you need them to be. People are who they are, and the more that we accept people where they're at, the better we can make decisions for ourselves that lead us to what is right for us. Because again, if we're spending our time and our energy pouring into people who don't pour back into us, we're not in a place of receiving what it is that we need and what it is that we deserve. So There's definitely a lot to unpack here, but I feel like the dynamic within itself is really needing to be addressed, and addressed with like an open heart and an open mind, because that's going to be the most important thing in order for you to see what you need to see. In between this connection you have, you don't think of me with overstepped boundaries. We're going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to dive deeper into this reading, looking at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to move to align further with your higher self. Thank you so much, Pisces, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Pisces.